Hello and welcome to this channel. My name is Sarah. Et coucou les francophones, vous êtes les bienvenus. N'hésitez pas à mettre les sous-titres parce que je les ai créés pour vous. The end of the summertime is always a bittersweet time for me because I love the summer season. I'm a summer baby. I love wearing summer clothes and the colors and the shapes and swingy dresses and skirts. I love going to the beach, swimming in the ocean, feeling the warmth on my skin, and especially getting so much bright sunlight. I love summery colors and sewing summer projects. They're my favorite garments to make in my favorite fabrics, and I just feel so much happier wearing them than in the wintertime when I have to cover up and stay warm. So the change in the seasons is always a little bit of a melancholic time for me, especially at the end of summer. It typically takes me a little while to change gears in my sewing projects. I feel like I just get into a season and get into the swing of things, imagining what I want to wear and what I want to make when the temperature changes and the season changes, and I usually experience a break in my sewing motivation and have a hard time picking up and finding new projects and figuring out what I want to wear or what I want to make in the next season. So this year I'm trying to think of the things that I like about the fall season rather than mourning the end of the summer season as I see the seasons changing, because I see that there's a lot more gray light in the morning, for example, or a little bit more rain and clouds, but it creates a cozy feeling at home, or the fact that apple picking season is coming up, or pumpkin spice, for example, or there are a lot of new book releases, for example, that come out in September, and that makes me happy. So hopefully that will inspire some new sewing projects as well. But before thinking about fall sewing projects, I'd like to show you 5 projects that I just finished at the end of this summer. So if you watched my last video, you have definitely seen this skirt before, because I finished making this right before leaving on vacation in Brittany, France this summer, and I wore this almost the entire vacation. I love this skirt, and I had a lot of footage of this skirt in motion. So this is the Sew Over It Sienna skirt in a white linen viscose and polyester blend that I found at Tissu et Mer online. I prefer working with linens that are blended with other fabrics such as viscose or polyester, but mostly viscose, because I find that it's softer to the touch. It drapes a little bit, it's got a little bit more bounce to it, it's not as stiff, and it does wrinkle, but not as much. I can show you here. Yeah, it holds a wrinkle, but it's not that bad. I made a size 6 at the waist, graded to a size 8 at the hips, and I found these buttons at my favorite haberdashery, Mercerie de Charonne. They are 22 millimeters wide and in this mock horn resin, which I really love in garments, especially against white or black fabrics. And I spaced them 9 centimeters apart. So this wasn't indicated in the pattern, unfortunately. I had to email Sew Over It, and it's actually because they indicate it in the bodice piece of the pattern but not in the skirt piece. And since I wasn't making the full dress, I was just making the skirt, it wasn't indicated on the skirt piece, and I didn't think to look at the bodice because I didn't print out the bodice. And so they did respond to me very quickly and indicated that it was supposed to be 5.5 centimeters apart. In the end, I was too impatient to wait for them to email me back, even though they did get back to me very fast, and I spaced them 9 centimeters apart instead of 5.5 centimeters apart, which would be around here. I like it this way. I think that they're big enough where 5.5 centimeters wouldn't have been far enough apart, and even though they do go further down on the skirt than they're meant to be, I think it works and I like it. This fabric is exactly what I was looking for when I was thinking of making this skirt, which is something I've wanted to make for a long time. It has a nice hand, it's soft and bouncy, and I was a little bit worried that it was going to be transparent just because it was 175 grams per square meter, and that's a little bit on the light side. It's not quite a medium weight, and it is a little bit transparent in the light. But with the gathers and with a half slip underneath in a nude color, it's not transparent, it's fine. And so I'm very happy with this. I was also not very sure about the length. I thought maybe it was a little bit too long, but the length is actually growing on me, and I think it's fine. I like it this way. The only other issue is that the buttons are a little bit heavy, and so it kind of hangs in the front a little bit, but I don't think it's that noticeable, and yeah, I love this skirt, and I'm very happy wearing it. The next make is the Protea top from the capsule collection of patterns that Megan Nielsen just released. I made View B, a top featuring a square neckline and fitted sleeves, and I made it in a spongy double gauze in this really pretty light seafoam green color that I found while on vacation in Nantes at the haberdashery Tissu Myrtille. I made a size 0, which corresponds to my bust size, and this pattern caught my eye because I really love square necklines, and it's a little bit rarer in woven garments. So I wanted to try it out. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was really quick and satisfying sew, and I got to finish it and wear it right away. Unfortunately, my favorite haberdashery did not have matching thread, and I didn't want to run around the city looking for matching thread, especially because I wanted to finish this project before the weather turned cold. And so I just used thread that I already had and avoided any top stitching, so avoided thread showing through to the front of the garment, which means that I did all of the hemming by hand with a whip stitch, you can see here, at the sleeves and then also at the hem. And then I tacked down the corners of the facing here in the front and the back, so that instead of top stitching all around the front like it's indicated in the instructions, and this prevents the facing from flapping to the front of the garment while I'm wearing it. I actually really like hand sewing. I find it very meditative and pretty as a detail on handmade garments. And so maybe one day when I have a bunch of hand stitching to do, I will do a chatty video where I answer your questions while I'm hand sewing, but that's just an idea, maybe. We'll see. The next make that I'd like to show you is the Ogden Cami by True Bias. This is a wardrobe staple for me, and I end up making at least one a year, just because it corresponds really well with my wardrobe, and it's easy to wear with a lot of the skirts that I've made, especially if I make it in a solid color, because a lot of my skirts have patterns or lots of colors in them, and it's easier to match with these skirts. And I especially wanted to make it in white because I like wearing white close to my face. It looks good on me. And so I was looking for that, and I like white fabrics with some texture. So if you can see, this is a white viscose jacquard kind of woven fabric. It's got a little bit of texture to it. It was actually extremely expensive. I found it at a haberdashery close to my home, which is the most expensive haberdashery I've ever been to, so I try not to go there very often, and I definitely don't get my thread there. But it was about 20 to 25 euros per meter, so I only got 1 meter, and I ended up getting 2 tops out of it, so I felt good. And this is the first top I got out of it. But I love this fabric because it is bouncy and easy to wear and breathable, and it doesn't wrinkle very easily, which means that it was a little bit difficult to work with because it was difficult to hold a crease when I pressed it, especially when I was hemming. But that makes it super practical for traveling, for example, and especially for work, because when I travel for work, I like bringing garments with me that won't wrinkle too much because I don't like using hotel irons. They're usually a bit sketchy and dirty and sputtery. I'm really happy with this one. I made a size 0, which corresponds to my bust, and yeah, makes me happy. The second make I got out of the super expensive viscose jacquard is this Brenné top by O's Patterns. I made the size 34, and I omitted the buttons on the lapel. I love the way this top sits. I love the asymmetrical lapel and the neckline and how it sits a little bit higher to emphasize the collarbones. I am happy to confirm that I do not need any fashion tape along the neckline of this top, and the straps are bra friendly. I typically wear my tops tucked in, but I like the shape of this when it's untucked as well, and I like the way it doesn't hug the waist, but it still sits in a very feminine fashion. For both these tops made out of the same fabric, I used a different fabric for the facing, and this was not only to get more than one top out of the same fabric, but also to avoid the facing fabric showing through to the front of the garment, because with white fabrics you have to be careful with what you wear underneath, and this is why fabrics that are closer to your skin tone are better in the underwear you wear underneath it, but also for the facing, because that means that they don't show through as easily, because white on white will show through. So you see here I have used this viscose fabric that I had just in my stash. I have about 3 meters, I think it's down to like 1.5 now, but it's very useful for facing fabric. It wasn't quite the same weight as the fashion fabric, and so I used iron-on interfacing to strengthen it a bit and to give it a bit more weight, because it's important to use a facing that is of the same weight as your fashion fabric and that behaves in the same way. And yeah, and it worked pretty well. I used this for both these tops and it doesn't show through. This last make that I'd like to share with you today is actually a bit of a cheat, because I made this last year at the end of the summer and not this year. But I wanted to get your opinion. I haven't actually shared this at all on Instagram or anywhere yet because I haven't worn it yet. And this is for a few reasons, but I'll get to that in a minute. This is the Sicily slip dress by Sewing by Mason, And I made the version with the skinny straps and the cowl neckline in a size A. And I made it in this absolutely beautiful viscose twill that I found online with Sew Tissu. And oh, this was such a pleasure to work with. I love the autumnal colors and the feel. It's this buttery soft viscose. It's lovely to work with. It's kind of spongy and it presses really well. And I wish it suited me better. I modified it a little bit by taking it in at the waist and a little bit at the hem because the hem was a little bit too flared for me and I wanted to add some shaping to it to fix it. But basically, this doesn't work for me for two reasons, and one is the coloring. So the background color of this fabric is a beige, and there's a lot of brown in this fabric, and I didn't realize that. This is one of the pitfalls of buying fabric online. But I didn't realize how beige it was, and I think that close to my face especially, and against my skin, it's not particularly complimentary. And then the other reason I don't wear it very much is the shape of it. I think that, so I'm more of an hourglass shape, and I like to mark my waist because otherwise garments kind of hang on me sack-like and formless. And this dress is bias cut, so it does drape over my hips, but I find that it's not very flattering in shape on me, and I prefer garments that mark my waist, and I'm a little bit sad about that because it looks so lovely on other people. But you know, that's how it goes. But I am determined to wear this dress because I love this fabric and I think that as long as I keep it away from my face, it could work. And so I was thinking of wearing it with, for example, my black Seamwork Astoria sweater that I made a long time ago in this interlock knit fabric. It is high-waisted, and so it would mark my waist a little bit and not overwhelm the silhouette of this dress, and then this dress would be therefore worn more like a skirt. And I think this could work. It's a little bit strange because I feel a little bit exposed. The fabric is bias cut, and so it hugs the belly and the hips, and it kind of emphasizes curves, and I feel exposed. But I think it's okay. I think it still looks nice this way, and hopefully I'll get a little bit more wear out of this dress because I still love it and I don't want to give up on it. So those are my final sewing projects for the summer season before thinking about fall projects. Let me know in the comments what you do in the fall, whether it's cooking recipes or gardening, sewing, knitting, whatever. Ooh, especially book recommendations if you have any for the fall. I know a lot of people love the fall, and I'm trying to join in on this feeling because I love the summer and I usually feel a little bit sad at the end of the season, so I'd like to jump on the enthusiasm for fall train. I'm currently working on two projects right now. One is a garment for a friend who's expecting a baby at the end of this month of September. I especially like sewing for my friends who are becoming mothers because it's a time of such radical change emotionally, mentally, and physically, and I like offering something somewhat comforting and indulgent. I'll keep it a secret for now though, just in case she's watching. The second is actually a knitting pattern because I'm slowly getting into knitting, especially in the winter months. This is the Anchor Tee pattern by Petite Knit that I'm very slowly getting through. I hope to finish it before it gets too cold because it's still a t-shirt pattern, and if I finish it, I'll definitely show you if I finish it. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're having a good end of summer. For those of you who watched my first video, I wanted to let you know that I did in fact wear that blue sarin dress to 2 weddings this summer, and it was great. It was so much fun to wear, very light, perfect for dancing the night away, very comfortable, big pockets, and I highly recommend making it for a summer wedding, for example. Thank you for all of you who left me encouraging comments telling me to wear it. You were right. I wish you a very happy end of summer, and I'll see you again here soon.